Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MeoowzResQ Virtual Adoptions. My name is Rebecca, and today I have with me one of my coordinators from Santa Ana. Her name is Kat. Hi, Kat.
Hello.
And we're going to talk today about what you need to do to adopt one of our kitties. First off, show you maybe a couple of our kitties that are available for adoption. Although I think maybe I don't know. We'll check with them in a little bit to see if they've been adopted or not. I'm not sure. But we want to show you some of the information that you would need as an adopter. Talk about some adoption fees, what they cover, what the costs are, what they cover. Talk about how all the things that you would need when you get a brand new kitty, and maybe a few other things. So first off, we're doing these virtual adoptions from home, especially during this coronavirus lockdown, because we don't want to expose anybody to each other, especially during this time. We keep being told stay inside, and I don't know about you, Kat, but I'm starting to go a little stir crazy here, so I don't mind doing these virtual adoptions. Especially like every weekend, we have the adoption events, normally at Santa Ana, Buena Park, Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley, Brea. We have those every weekend during normal times, and now we're not having them, so it's a little weird. So, Kat, I'm going to bring up the pricing guide, the adoption fee guide, and let's talk about that for a few minutes, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and show the prices. And would you mind going through that and just talking to people about it? And there it is.
Right.
I put it up on the screen now, so I'll just let you talk about it for just a minute, if you don't mind.
Alrighty. Well, all of our cats have a certain price when they're adopted, depending on their age and also depending on what kind of breed they are. So we have a class we call exotics. So cats that are sometimes a little harder to come by: Siamese, Russian blues, Persians, any other non-typical cat that you see out there.
Yep.
And cats that are between 2 to 6 months, any cat that's under 6 months that we have up for adoption, if they're an exotic, it's $200 to adopt. If they're a regular cat, it's $175. And then
when Kat starts talking about a regular cat, she's talking about kitties that are like a tuxedo or tabby, just a plain gray kitty or a tabby, kitties that are very common as far as their colorings. Now, I'm telling you right now, I've got 3 of my 5 kitties here are tabbies, and I love them very, very much. They have their own personality, so don't think just a common kitty is, just common, because they're not. They're pretty amazing too.
Each cat has their different personality.
Yep.
So you'll see that yourself when you have them.
Oh yeah. How many cats do you have, Kat?
I have 4.
You have 4. I have 5, and they're pretty awesome. So what Kat was talking about was, the exotic breeds, as a general rule, they're going to be roughly about $200. The more common breeds are going to be $175, and if they're over a year old, they're going to be roughly about $150. Just so you know that all of our fees, the office has the last say on what is the correct fee amount. Sometimes they change depending on who you're talking to, but the office always has the last say. So if you have any questions about, even if we say, oh, this kitty is going to be $150, the office may turn around and say, well, they were not informed correctly. It really is going to be $150 or $200. So the office basically tells us what the fee is going to be. The next little snippet up here is basically going to talk about what do those adoption fees cover. The first thing that they cover, obviously, is going to be that every kitty that we adopt out has to be fixed, meaning that it needs to be spayed or neutered. Spaying is done for a female and neutering is done to a male. The next thing that we also do is we make sure that when they're kittens, they always, well, actually every cat that comes into our organization always gets at least one FVRCP vaccination. When they're kittens, when they're under a year old, they will get a second vaccination 3 to 4 weeks after the first one. And if they're already a year old, then they don't need a second vaccination.
Yeah, the ones who are a year old or older, they get their, well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could call them booster shots, but their vaccines are typically like once a year. Think of it as a flu shot for cats, basically.
Yeah, well, when they've been a year old, they've probably been exposed to the things that the FVRCP vaccine is protecting against. So they probably already built up some immunities to it, and that's why they only need to have the one vaccine then. The last two things on the list there are just medications that we give to every kitty. We give them medicine to make sure that they don't have any worms, and we also give them a flea treatment, so medicine to make sure that they don't have fleas, or do our best to control the fleas that they might have been in contact with. The next page I'm going to bring up is basically what do you get when you adopt one of our kitties. So the first thing that you're going to get when you adopt one of our kitties is a happy, healthy, socialized kitty. And what I started to talk about in the beginning is that when a kitty comes into our rescue, it goes to live at a foster home. MeoowzResQ is the largest foster-based all-volunteer kitten rescue in the entire state of California. And we actually gained that recognition just last year. So yay to us. MeoowzResQ actually this year is its 20th year in existence, which is amazing. Most rescues don't last more than 5 years. So, to be here 20 years later is a huge accomplishment. And at our annual big fundraiser that we have in November, which is called Meows and Merlot, we are going to be celebrating that it's our 20th year. So if you have nothing to do, the first weekend, I believe it's the first weekend in November. I believe it's November 3rd.
To be announced.
Yeah, to be announced. I forget the date. But if you have nothing to do and you'd like to come out and support us, it's a really great time. We have a big buffet. I'm sorry, I couldn't spit that one out. We have there's a big buffet of really good food. A lot of people coming out. There's raffling.
We got raffles, silent auctions, regular auction.
Yep. It's a really
for the adults.
It's a really good fun evening. And last year I think the tickets for the fundraiser were $75. And it all goes to a really great cause. This is how we raise money to continue doing what we do, because we don't get those big grants like the Humane Society gets big grants from the government. We don't get things like that. We have to go out and find the money other ways.
We gotta spend for ourselves,
Yep. So, any chance we have to ask, help to ask for donations and stuff. It's something that's really what drives our rescue is the donations and the gifts that we get from people that we don't get those sort of things, the big money grants and things from places, from the big government handouts. We have to kind of do the best we can with what we got.
Well, anywho, going back to what we originally were talking about instead of this tangent.
Anywho, the next...
when you adopt from us, besides getting the kitten or cat...
So the next thing that I have on the list there is you're going to get the medical record. And every one of our cats has one of these. And I actually have an example of one here. Let me put it up on the screen. So what you get in the medical record is pretty much everything that we know about that cat. So you're going to get, if it came from the shelter, you're going to have the shelter's number, impound number on there. It will list any surgeries it might have had, any medication it might have had at a shelter, anything that was given to it at the shelter, we will list on there. That way there's only one place that you have to look for some of these things. I've read shelter paperwork before, and sometimes it can be very, very confusing. So we try to make it streamlined so that, when you adopt your new kitty and you take it to the vet, you have one piece of paper that you can show your vet of everything that we know about that kitty. Other things that are on the medical record include, obviously its name, its color, its breed, and we also list any vaccinations and any medication that we give it. We also list, when it was spayed or neutered, if we know that date and where. A lot of times we don't. A lot of times they, coming through the shelter system, it was done before we ever got it, and we don't know where they had that done at. So it's all listed there. Anytime that somebody is adopting a kitten, you're going to get a big medical record from us. The next thing we give you is a voucher for a free checkup. And what the voucher... Go ahead.
Yeah, we have, I guess you could call them partnership with certain veterinarians. So we give you a voucher, a free checkup. You go take your cat. It's good for 2 weeks after the adoption, or at the specified date that we put there.
Yeah, sometimes we've had that date.
All the information you need to contact them is there. So, it's got the address, phone number for the appointment.
Yeah, and we tend to make sure that, occasionally we will pad that date a little bit so that, give you a little bit more time, just, maybe 2.5 weeks versus 2 weeks. It's just to make sure that when you adopt a kitty from us, we want to make sure that you understand you're getting a healthy kitty. Occasionally, some things do fall through the cracks because we are just volunteers. We're not doctors ourselves. We do our best, and I see your cat crawling all over you, cat. But we do our best, and like I said, we're just volunteers, and occasionally some things do fall through the cracks, and we don't catch everything. But we want to make sure that you are getting as healthy of a kitty as we can possibly give you. And the only way we can really guarantee that is to let you take the kitty to a vet who we partner with. So, obviously they give us discounts for certain things. And the way we can kind of pay them back for that is by sending our new adopters to them. And if you don't have a vet, these are vets that we will vouch for and stand behind. We use them for all of our services. So, they're really good vets. They are spread around Orange County and the Inland Empire. So, we try and find the vet that is closest to where you live and, give you the voucher for that particular vet. Let's go on and go to the next thing, which talks about the spay or neuter certificate. So, again, part of the medical envelope that you're going to get with your kitty is a spay or neuter certificate. And that is assuming that the kitty was in our care when it was fixed. If it happened before we got the kitty, we're probably not going to have a certificate, but we do have verification normally through either the shelter or through a vet that the kitty has been fixed. That's all there is about that one. Can't really say much more. And the last thing I have listed there is obviously a receipt.
Yeah. It's got all the general information of the cat you adopted, name, the ID number that we give them, and then we have a copy of the agreements you initial on the contract, so you could look over in case you don't remember what you initialed for.
Yeah, and these are basic things like, you promise not to declaw the kitty, you promise not to do this, you promise to keep him inside.
Basically, you promise to keep the cat as your own fur baby. Protect it like if it was your actual baby.
Yeah, and we basically want you to, we have you initial saying that you understand that if the kitty gets sick in the first couple of weeks, that all you do is give us a call, and, we will take the kitty back and get him healthy again and return him to you. Just a couple of things like that. We also kind of have built into our system kind of a 2-week trial period. Basically, if you're adopting the kitty, you have 2 weeks to determine whether or not that cat is going to, fit with your family. And sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. But, we do our best. We've been doing this for a long time, and we do our best to make sure that we are guiding you to the kitty that we feel is going to work out the best for you and your family. And we also want to make sure that that you're right for that particular kitty. Bless you. It's funny, many times we have people come to our adoption events saying, "Oh, I'm here to adopt a white kitty," and they leave at the end of the day and they've adopted a black kitty. And it's funny because I try to tell people all the time that you don't pick the cat picks you more often than not. And I seem to be proven right more and more and more. So that's really cool. To see a kitten fall into somebody's arms and that's the kitten for them. But I'm going to put up now a page that talks about our links.
Well, one more thing. On the adoption receipt, there's also a copy of the Penal Code for Animal Abuse.
Yep.
So to briefly sum it up, what is on there, basically, it's warning you that if you hurt the said kitty you're adopting, you shall be hated for eternity. We shall hunt you down and we shall blackball you.
Yeah. Don't abuse animals. It's basically the state penal code, or I guess the California penal code, basically saying do not abuse animals. It's not good, and if you do, you'll be in trouble and go to jail.
I'm sure a bunch of you are thinking, what kind of person would hurt animals? Yeah, well, you would be surprised.
You would be surprised. We hear horror stories all the time. And I think a lot of it is because being in the rescue, system, we're just exposed to so much more, activity when it comes to animals. The average person doesn't hear about the person who gets out of jail, who was in jail for animal abuse and things like that. We hear the stories about those guys getting out of jail and going to adoption events and adopting particular cats to take them out and torture them. And we have to be on the lookout for things like that all the time. We don't come out and ask you, are you a serial killer for animals? But, we do our best to try and find those red flags when we ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you see up on the screen now is a couple of our links. It shows that our website, and notice that it's Meows, and it's spelled a little differently There's two O's and a Z there, and then resq.org. I also put up a website or a web page called Virtual-Adoptions, and on there, there are links to all sorts of things. You'll find our adoption application on there in both PDF and Word formats. You'll also find a couple of links to donate. If you are on our YouTube channel, there are in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture across the top of the screen, there are links there as well that you can actually click. These that are on this page right here, you cannot click, but the ones on our YouTube page across that picture at the top, the picture of the gray kitty, you can actually click those little links in the bottom right-hand corner, and they take you to one of these two places. We have two ways to donate to us right now, and one is via Network for Good, which is it's a program that's out there that allows us to keep in contact with people who adopt from us for however long we need to, and donate and stuff like that. So it's actually a really good program. We've been using it for just over a year now, and it's been amazing. The other way that we collect donations right now is through PayPal, and you can use your PayPal account, or you can use a credit or debit card. So either way, if you want to use PayPal or credit or debit, just go through that PayPal link. Alrighty. So let's see what else I've got here. So let me I'm going to bring up the website now, Kat, and just so that people can see that. So on our website, it basically, the website that I'm showing right there is this is the virtual adoptions page. So all you need to do is when you go to that page, so you'll see MeoowzResQ virtual adoptions. There's the link to our YouTube channel, and hopefully as soon as we get over 100 subscribers, we'll be able to change that YouTube channel name to something that's a little bit more recognizable. Apparently they want you to have more than 100 subscribers in order to change that, and we'll do that as soon as we can. The very next thing on the page is the adoption applications. There's the one for Word and PDF formats, so either one of those will work. There again is the adoption fee guide that we had up. I also put up a few links on different ways that you can help the rescue, and they basically talk about going to like Ralph's. If you have a Ralph's card and you do a lot of food shopping at Ralph's, you can actually set that account up so that MeoowzResQ gets a very small portion donated to them, for every like dollar that you spend. So that's kind of cool. Some of these others like Chewy.com and Giving Assistant, I think those are ones that if your first visit, they give MeoowzResQ like a $10 donation for each person who comes to their website. Also, the very first one there that's listed is our Amazon wish list. And if you go to that, you'll see that we try to keep it updated, and it basically has a lot of the items that we use quite often: paper towels, wipes, baby wipes, things like that, little dish pans. Dawn dish soap is something that we use quite often. Dawn is actually very good for bathing kittens when they've had flea infestations, because for some reason Dawn is just something that fleas do not like. And then
yeah, guys, if you don't have that kitten shampoo, or you just got the kitten, like you just randomly got it and you're just like, oh wait, I didn't prepare, just get the Dawn dish soap.
Yep. We've discovered many different ways to work around things without having to spend a lot of money on the expensive versions, and it seems to work out very well. So that's the virtual adoption page, which, like I said, basically gives you all the links that you need. If you do go to that page and download our adoption application, what you'll need to do is fill it out, uh, the best you can, and you'll want to send it to MeoowzResQ@gmail.com. And once you see a kitten that you say you're interested in, whether it be through this virtual adoption event, the streaming that we're doing right now, or say you see a kitty on Pet Finder or Adopt a Pet or Craigslist, or our public Facebook page. If you see a kitten that you're interested in, you're going to want to call our office, and that phone number is 714-997-0868. You'll leave a message. What you need to include in that message is your name, and please speak very clearly. You need to leave your name, a phone number, and please don't go through it zip, 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 because we got to write it down, and it's really hard to write things down when people are, speak it very quickly. So make sure that you say it and say it clearly. So your name, your phone number. If you know the name of the kitten that you're interested in, include that. If you know the MRQ number, include that. And finally, it's really helpful if you mention where you saw the kitten at. So all of that, you'll leave in a message, and what will happen is our office will call you back as soon as they possibly can. When 2 or 3 people call into the office and they're all interested in the same kitten, the way we kind of work that out is we do our best to, start with the first person that called. And if you've got your application in there, then and that kitten is available and you end up being the right person, then we're going to give that kitten to you first before we start going down the list and making sure, seeing if there's somebody else that's, might be better. We don't care about better. We want to make sure that the kitten finds a home. And if you're the right home, then you're going to be, if you got your application in and everything, then you're going to be the first one on the list that we're going to look at. And once we find somebody that is a good adopter, well, we stop going down the list. We let the other people know that, I'm sorry, that kitten's been adopted.
It's first come, first serve, guys.
Yep, first come, first serve. Sometimes people are like, well, I just want, can't you just hold the kitten for me for a couple of days? Well, we've tried that, and many times they never call us back, or they change their mind. So what ends up happening between now and 3 days from now, when you said you want to pick it up, then somebody else comes along and says, well, I want that kitten. And they're perfect, just as perfect as you are, and they're willing to take the kitten home right now. So rather than wait another 2 or 3 days to see if you might come back, we would rather the kitten go home with somebody who's willing to take them right now. So, it's not that we think that you would be a bad adopter, because we don't think that at all. Let's talk a little bit now, really quickly, about what you're going to get, what you need when you have a brand new kitty. All those things that you're going to need to buy. Let's go ahead and move that over, and let's talk about our new kitten needs. So you got a brand new kitten. What are you going to need for that kitten?
Let's start off by saying that if you think a bunch of fancy toys or a fancy cat tree is gonna make them super happy, most of the time, that's not true. You could buy like the best cat bed for them, and they'll just find one of your old shirts and they'll sit there.
You can buy the biggest and most awesome cat tree, and they want to play in the box. They don't care about the cat tree; they want the box. So,
or you could buy like the fanciest toy you find, and then, oh look, the ring from the milk bottle.
Yep. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on your kitties, but there are some things that you really absolutely need for your kittens. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the food. Dry food is really important. We always make sure that, most of the people who are fostering, we most of us, I think, follow the same kind of pattern. We put dry food down for them for them to graze, so that whenever they're hungry, they can go have some dry food. The rescue actually provides food to our permanent fosters, and the food that we generally give them is usually Purina 1 or Purina Kitten, one of those, either life stages or Kitten. I forget which. I think we give both sometimes. But there are other brands, and as a dry food goes, you want to make sure that you're providing quality food for them, not just because it's cheaper to get the Costco brand. Um, a short story is, when I first had all my cats, I was feeding them Fancy Feast, and I thought, hey, this is great. They love it. They eat it. There's no problems. And then I joined MeoowzResQ, and I ended up having to do some research one time because there was some animals that were dying from from one of the products, and I think it was dogs that were dying from something in Purina, and Danny had asked me to go and research it a little bit, and what I discovered is, me feeding my cats Fancy Feast was the equivalent of giving them McDonald's for every single meal. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do that. So I immediately switched over to Natural Balance, and a combination, actually, Natural Balance and Blue Buffalo. And immediately I discovered their fur was silkier. They didn't eat quite as much. And when they pooed, the poo didn't stink nearly as bad. So, it may cost a little bit more in the beginning, but in the long run, they're eating less, they're healthier, it's better for them. They're not ingesting so many carbs that's all filler. And, these are my babies. I want the best for them. So, dry food, go for quality over quantity. You can't go wrong with that. Okay? Next thing up is the wet food. You want to talk about the wet food, Kat?
Well, in the rescue, the wet food is mostly fed like twice a day. When they're younger, it's suggested you feed them 3 times a day. So if you buy like the little cans, like what are they, 3 ounces or something?
Yes.
Somewhere 3 ounces. Usually we suggest you give them like half a can when it's the 3 ounce can. If it's the big 5 ounce one, then it's suggested you give them like a quarter of the can.
Yeah, a quarter or a third. A third is not bad. So
a quarter, third, could be either or. But it mostly depends. If you have a cat, there are cases when you can't just leave a bowl of dry food out for your cat and give them the wet food 2 to 3 times a day, because they might overindulge themselves on the dry food and then they still gobble up what they can of the wet food. So sometimes you have to mix them both. But most cats tend to be able to be okay with you leaving out a bowl of dry food and then giving them wet food twice to thrice a day.
Yeah, most cats are really good about self-monitoring. They usually will stop eating when they're done being hungry. When they filled their bellies. Occasionally.
Yeah, it's most of the cats at the rescue are like that.
Right.
Can't talk from personal experience because all of mine were strays, so they have that habit of gorging themselves.
Yeah, a lot of times strays, what happens is a stray will, when it finds food, it will fill its belly and it will eat because it doesn't know when it's going to get its next meal. So its mindset is, if I have food in front of me, I will eat it. So when you start looking at the ferals and the strays, you just have to be a little bit more careful. Sometimes you don't put the dry food down and let them graze. Sometimes you just give it to them in half cup or a half cup at a time. and just watch the weight of your kitties, and as long as they're you take them to the vet. As long as the vet says they're healthy, then continue doing however you're feeding them. I've got one cat. One of my cats is a little bit heavy. She's not just heavy, she's a little bit fat. and we have to be a little bit careful with the food that we leave out, but she's maintained her weight. She's not getting heavier, she's not losing anything, but she's not getting heavier. But we do our best to keep her, not give her nearly as much of the wet food, make sure she still has the amount she wants, and she's happy.
Or you cheat like me and just buy the weight control food for them.
Well, that's probably going to be my next step. I had one of my kitties had actually crystals in his urine, which is it's one of those things. What happens is the pH in their system gets out of balance, and what it does is it causes crystals to form in their urine, and so when they go to the bathroom, it hurts, and they cry, and they get just a few little dribbles out, and it's very, very painful. And to fix that, we had to switch over to a food that we give them that helps to maintain that pH balance in their bodies. So I give it to all my kitties. There's no problem, giving something like that to all of them. It may be a little bit more expensive in the long run, but at least in my mind, I know that all my kitties are safe. Excuse me. So the next thing I have on the list here is talking about litter boxes. Just from my own personal experience, getting something that's very deep and actually very large is ideal. Most people think if you get them this litter box that's the size of a dishpan, that's got sides that are about 3 inches tall, then that's perfectly fine. And most of the time I would say yes. I have cats that
until they start kicking the litter out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have cats that like to dig, and when they like to dig, and a lot of kittens are like this, so I have litter boxes that actually have sides that are about 8 inches off, 8 inches up and down, and I actually have the jumbo size. I got a couple of those because I noticed that my cats were kind of putting their rear end over the edge and pooping over the edge, and I'm like, hold on, dudes, why are you doing that?
Yeah, so, some of them do. Some of them go weirdly, not like they usually do.
Well, it was because they didn't have enough space. They thought they were actually inside the litter box, but they weren't. So I ended up getting jumbo size, which gives them plenty of space to do their duty. I said duty. Yeah. So do their duty. So, the size of a litter box, for the most part, it's going to be perfectly fine. Just getting one that's kind of oval, or not oval, but rectangular. 3 inches on the height is perfectly fine. But if you're getting kittens, they do like to dig. So I highly recommend, every time somebody adopts from me and they're getting a baby, I highly recommend get something that's got the really high sides, because babies do like to dig. Yeah. The next thing that I list up here is going to be litter. MeoowzResQ provides some litter to our permanent fosters, and what we generally provide to them is Dr. Elsie's, which is I believe it's a clay-based litter, which you'll see here. What I have listed is I have different brands, I have different materials, and I also have different types. The different materials could be corn-based, wheat-based, paper or wood, and then clay-based. And clay is probably the most common brand or material that's used. The problem with clay is when it gets wet, it turns to cement. So you have to be very careful about making sure that you don't rinse those litter boxes out in your sink. You don't want to, you want to be very careful about getting that stuff in your pipes. It's also one of those things that if your cats have cat beds and they're their litter boxes nearby, and they're carrying that litter into their cat beds at all, and then you take those beds and try and wash them in your machine, washing machine, you know, that litter, you got to be very careful about, emptying those beds out so that you're not letting that litter go through your washing machine, because again, it's very damaging to pipes. It turns to cement. It's also important to, just throw the stuff out. Put it in a garbage bag, throw it out. Don't put it down your toilet, and do not definitely wash it down your sink at all. That's pretty much it. Now, there's different types. There's pellets. You can get pellets. You can get the little crystals, and then there's just the regular granules. I personally prefer the granules. I get World's Best, which comes in a couple of different brands. The only thing that I would say as far as litter in particular is, if you're going to get anything, try to make it unscented. Kittens have they have a lot of smell. They can smell things more than we can. So, and of course their noses are a lot closer to the litter than ours are. And it might smell good to you, but to them it's very, very overpowering. So I would just highly recommend, if you're going to get, when you get litter, get something that's unscented. The cat will be happier for it. You're trying to buy for your cat, not for you. All right. The next thing that I have listed here is water dishes. It's just important when you're putting water down for your kitty that you put it in something that does not leak flavors or tastes into the water. So we recommend glass or ceramic dish, bowl, or one of the water fountains that's made specifically to hold water. Some of them are made of plastic, some are made of ceramic, some are metal. But anyway, stay away from plastic in general. You don't want to put water down in a Tupperware bowl, because cats won't like that after a while. The next thing I have listed is food dishes, but for the most part, any dish is going to work. Don't worry too much about that. And the last thing I have listed here is toys. Cat dancers, feather toys, balls, the tracks, anything's going to work. Laser pointers.
Milk jug rings, random piece of ribbon or string you have lying there.
Yep.
You see that rubber band you use for your hair? Yeah, use that too.
Yeah, and if as far as strings go and ribbons go, it's really important that you're careful. Make sure that if you're letting your kitty play with those things, that you do pick them up afterwards. You don't want them swallowing those things, because those things can make get their intestines tied up, and that could be an expensive surgery a little later, and you don't want that to happen. So careful with those.
And if you have a weird cat like mine, socks too.
Wow, your cat likes to play with socks?
She steals them.
Oh, alrighty. Okay, so that's about it for today. Well, actually, before we go off, I'm going to bring up a page of one of the kittens that we were going to show today. I had 5, and they all got adopted in less than a week. So, but please don't be discouraged over this. We are going to have a lot more really soon. The mamas.
There will be an influx of kittens.
Yeah, the mamas have had their babies, and we're starting to fill our fosters homes up with the little ones. We've got to get them to 2 months old, and then we can start adopting them out. So let me bring this over really quick. This was Trinidad. Trinidad did get adopted. She was a female, a little Siamese kitten, very, very, very cute. But this is what the page will look like when we do have a kitten that we can showcase for you. But unfortunately, like I said, all of the kittens in this group were adopted, so I don't have them available, which, oh my gosh, she's so cute. But that's it for today. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming and checking us out. Hope you can get some really great info from what we've shared here, and I do apologize for not having any available kittens today, but I think that over the next few events that we do hold, we're going to start seeing a lot of them. Obviously, if you have any questions, you're welcome to send an email to MeoowzResQ@gmail.com. If you get your adoption application downloaded, filled out, please send it into that address. If, like I said earlier, if you see a kitten on Craigslist or Adopt a Pet or Pet Finder or our Facebook page that you're interested in, feel free to call our office at 714-997-0868. Leave your name, phone number, the kitten name if you know it, the MRQ number for the kitten if you know that, and where you saw the kitten at. That's actually very important for us. As long as you let us know all that information and just speak very clearly, somebody will get back to you as quickly as they can. During this time, during the kitten season, you got to remember it is it's very busy. So just please be patient with our return calls, and we will get back to you. Somebody in the office will get back to you as quickly as they can. So, Kat, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, not really.
No? All right. Well, thank you so much, anybody, if you checking us out. And we're excited to be doing this, and we just hope that some of these kitties will find homes. That's our goal. And thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Sayonara.